The storm descended with a roar, lashing the pines with freezing rain and shaking the stable like a furious beast. I had just latched the stall doors when a frantic knock echoed through the cedar-scented shadows and whipping wind. I pulled the heavy oak door open, and a woman tumbled inside, drenched and shivering like a lost sparrow. She lifted her face, and my heart stopped utterly because it was Sarah, the woman who vanished 10 years ago. Her eyes held the same storm-gray color I remembered, but now they were filled with terror and disbelief. Before either of us could speak, a lightning bolt struck the ancient pine beside the stable with an explosive crack. The tree split and crashed against the stable doors, sealing us inside with a barricade of splintered wood and bark. The horses whinnied in fear, and I grabbed Sarah's arm, pulling her deeper into the safety of the hay-strewn aisle. We stood in the flickering lantern light, rain hammering the roof and a decade of silence filling the air. I finally whispered, "Why are you here, Sarah? After all these years of never a single word from you." She shook her head, water dripping from her dark hair, and said she was riding to sell her late husband's ranch. The storm caught her, and she saw my stable light, never knowing it was my land she had stumbled onto desperately. Her husband, a man she married 2 years after leaving me, had died of fever last spring, leaving her alone. I felt a surge of anger and grief, so tangled that I could not separate one from the other at all. "You left me without explanation," I said, my voice cracking, "and I've lived with that wound every single day." She looked at me with a pain so raw that I almost had to turn away from its burning, silent intensity. "I wrote you a letter, Elias," she said, her voice trembling. "I left it right here in this very stable." I stared at her, bewildered, because I had searched every inch of this place for any sign of her leaving. "I hid it in a loose board behind the saddle rack, hoping you would find it before the wedding day." I remembered that rack, worn and old, a place I never touched because it held my father's ancient, unused tack. The storm howled louder, and a sudden gust tore through a crack in the wall, shaking the very timbers around us. A plank near the rack splintered and fell, and something pale fluttered to the straw like a wounded, forgotten moth. Sarah gasped and lunged for it, her fingers closing around a yellowed envelope sealed with wax still unbroken after 10 years. She held it out to me, her hand trembling, and I saw my name written in her familiar looping script. I took the letter, broke the brittle wax, and unfolded the paper that had waited a decade for this moment. The lantern flickered as I read the words she had written the night before our wedding was supposed to happen. "My dearest Elias, my heart is shattered, but I must release you from a promise you made unknowingly." Her letter confessed that my younger brother Martin had visited her the day before with a cruel, deliberate lie. He told her I had confessed to loving another woman and was too cowardly to break the engagement myself directly. Sarah wrote that she could not bear to face me, so she fled, leaving the letter where only I would find. But Martin must have discovered it and hidden it deeper, ensuring I would believe Sarah had simply abandoned me coldly. Tears streamed down her face as I read, and the storm outside seemed to roar in sympathy with our agony. I looked up from the letter, my whole body shaking, and I saw the truth in her storm-gray eyes finally. "Martin died 5 years ago," I said, "but he stole a lifetime from us with this single, unspeakable act." Sarah collapsed against the stall door, weeping, and I reached out to steady her, my own tears falling freely. We stood there in the lantern light, the letter pressed between us, the lost years a chasm finally bridged. "I never loved another," I said, my voice fierce. "I have loved you every day of this endless decade." She lifted her chin, and her lips parted, and the next words she spoke trembled with a hopeful, fragile wonder. "Then I am still yours, Elias, if you will have a widow who never stopped loving you either." I pulled her into my arms, and the storm's fury outside was nothing compared to the tempest inside me. We held each other as the hours passed, the horses settling, the rain softening to a steady, gentle rhythm. She told me about her marriage, a quiet arrangement with a kind man who knew her heart belonged to another. I told her about my years of solitude, running the ranch with only the memory of her smile for company. The confession unspooled all the knots, and the cedar-scented stable became a sanctuary of grace and raw honesty. When dawn finally broke, the storm had passed, and golden light slanted through the cracks in the barricaded door. Together we pushed the fallen branches aside, and the world outside was washed clean, sparkling with morning dew. We walked to the cabin, and I made coffee while she dried her dress by the fire, the silence now comfortable. Over breakfast, we talked about the years ahead, not the years lost, and the future felt suddenly, dazzlingly possible. She decided to keep her husband's ranch but lease it, and she would come home to the place she belonged. I took her hand across the table and said, "Marry me tomorrow, Sarah, before another storm can find us." She laughed, a sound I had not heard in 10 years, and it was like sunlight breaking through the clouds. We were married in the little chapel in town, with the preacher who had known us both since childhood days. The letter, now framed, hangs above our hearth, a testament to the truth that even storms can bring blessing. Our first year was a dance of rediscovery, learning the lines on each other's faces and the weight of shared grief. But love, once locked in silence, now spoke freely, and our ranch echoed with conversation and laughter once more. We planted a new orchard where the old pine had fallen, and the saplings grew strong with the rain's memory. Every thunderstorm that rolls over the mountain now reminds us of the night our lost love finally found voice. I often sit in the stable, touching the mended board, and I thank the storm that imprisoned us to set us free. Sarah joins me, and we listen to the horses breathing, the sound a quiet rhythm of our second chance. We have a daughter now, with her mother's storm-gray eyes, and we named her Grace after the gift we received. She will grow up knowing that love is stronger than any lie, and that truth always finds its moment. The stable still smells of cedar and hay, and the old saddle rack remains, a monument to a hidden letter. Martin's grave is on a distant hill, but we no longer carry bitterness, only the scar that reminds us to forgive. I learned that anger is a heavier storm than any blizzard, and letting it go is the truest shelter. Sarah sometimes reads the letter aloud on quiet nights, and we both weep, not from sorrow but from gratitude. Our love was not lost. It was buried, and a storm dug it up, restored and refined like gold. To anyone trapped in silence, I say this: let the storm come, let it break open the hidden places. Because sometimes the only way for lost love to speak is through the thunder that shakes you to your core. Please subscribe to Stories Hell Official, smash that like button, and ring the bell for more frontier stories of hope. Tell me in the comments below, what truth have you been waiting for a storm to finally reveal to you? Thank you for sharing our story, and may your own heart find its voice in whatever tempest you face today.